don't be scared, okay? We are up close and personal today for a reason, I promise. I'm gonna give you my secrets to the most flawless, full coverage, glassy skin base routine. We're gonna be in depth, it's gonna be long, it's gonna be up close, as you can see. And I've pulled so many amazing products that I love and that I think are gonna get you there to the perfect routine. I'm gonna give you a lot of tips and tricks. And yeah, I mean, ever since I got my new camera in the last few weeks, I've been really inspired to get nice and up close because I feel like you can see every detail. It doesn't blur anything out. Still deciding how I feel about that, but it makes it really great for occasions like this, and it also gives you an opportunity. I'm calling this video like flawless skin, but you'll see my skin still isn't gonna be like flawless. Okay, we have real skin here, and I'm gonna show you the reality of that and what I do to get the look that I am desiring. And a quick thank you to Dalba for sponsoring today's video. I've worked with them numerous times in the past because they have products that I have truly incorporated into my routine many times for the last few years. And not only do I love their products, but so many professional makeup artists also use their products. And I think they have some amazing products for the type of look that I'm going for today. They have some amazing Korean skincare products that are perfect for prepping the skin. So obviously for the best base, skincare comes first. My skin has been super dry as of late because of the weather. So I'm no stranger to this one. This I am always recommending, especially in the winter time. I'm gonna use this multiple times throughout the routine to get the most hydrated, glassy looking skin. This is the First Spray Serum. And I've gone through a few of these at this point since I've been using it for such a long time. And it's really versatile. It can be a toner, a serum, setting spray, booster. So you'll notice that there are 2 layers. The top layer is plant-derived oils that lock in moisture and glow. And the bottom is a white truffle serum, which is amazing for skin elasticity, and it has a lot of different anti-aging properties. Now to use it, you gotta shake it up, get everything nice and incorporated. I'm actually gonna spray this on my sponge. I'm gonna press this into my skin. This is gonna work from inwards to outwards by hydrating the skin while also giving me, you can see, this really nice glow. Then by using this sponge, it's really pushing in all of those good ingredients into my skin for quick absorption. Give that a moment, let that sink in. I always have a fan beside me to kind of speed up that process. So you always see in my videos, I pull a fan out. It's to get that absorption going a little quicker. Next up, I'm going in with a super hydrating moisturizer. I use the Dalba White Truffle Double Serum and Cream for that hydration so that the products can go over as smoothly as they can for my skin and giving us that hydration. I mean, I've recommended that moisturizer for years and swear by them. Next up, I'm using an SPF cream. I'm gonna use this one. This is the UV Essence Waterfall. It has SPF 50. And I want to use this because it's a perfect consistency to also use as a primer so you don't have to overload the skin with product. Because here's the thing, while skin prep is super important, I find that when I do a routine that's super skincare heavy, that the makeup doesn't last as long throughout the day. So I love using a product like this that is kind of a 2-for-1. Obviously, SPF is super important. I use it every day. Nobody wants to end up with premature aging. It's OTC certified and has high protection SPF, but a really lightweight texture. Like, look at that dewy radiance it gives the skin. This is part of the potion, part of the magic to give us that glowy look that I'm going for today. It's really radiant, but still natural. I can't believe it gives SPF 50. And as you can see, as I'm blending it in, we have no white cast and does not make your makeup pale. I am super duper picky about my SPFs, and this is one of the very few that I've discovered that doesn't have all those things like feeling greasy, heavy, white cast, makes makeup pale. It doesn't do any of that. And the serum-y consistency makes it really good for makeup prep, especially on those dry skin days. And I will say our skin is ready to go. Again, a huge thank you to Dalba for sponsoring this portion of the video and getting my skin right and tight and glowy for the routine. I'll have the links down to these products in the description box for you to purchase. But now that all of the lovely skincare products have kind of soaked into the skin, let's get going with adding some coverage because Oh my goodness, I don't know what is happening. I don't know if I tried something that upset my skin. I don't know if my hormones are a little wacky. It's that time of the month. But we're gonna start off by covering it. Now my favorite spot concealer, it's gonna last all day. It gives full coverage for these big old red bumps all over my face, is the NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer. It is simply the best for acne coverage. So I'm just gonna take a small brush and I'm just gonna put that on these horrid bumps, kind of blend out the edges. So here's my trick for this. Paint it over your spots and just let it sit. Don't you dare touch the spots, because if you touch it, you're going to release some coverage. If anything, if you want more of a seamless blend, you can use the same brush and soften the edges, kind of diffuse them, but you leave that zit completely untouched or your zit is going to come through. So you'll see I'm using my same brush and I'm literally just softening the edges, but my zit still has full coverage. And if you're worried about it not being a perfect match to your skin, that's why foundation exists. So let's say you really want to be perfected, which I do today, hence the title of this video. I'm gonna give the concealer 5 minutes to dry down, and that's also why I selected this NARS concealer, because it's a matte finish, so it will set down for more longevity. So 5 minutes on the clock. I'll see you when we're back. Okay, now that everything has dried down, you see my skin is still nice and glowy. The zits are covered. We're gonna start some coverage, and I'm doing a concoction for foundations. So I wanted it glassy, but I also wanted it smooth and perfected. So I picked 2 foundations that give us a little bit of both. For the more coverage perfecting side, I pulled the Maybelline Super Stay Skin Tint. Now this says skin tint, but it gives a lot of coverage. But what's really special about this is that how smooth it makes the skin look. It also has a beautiful pearly finish. But to give us a little bit more glow, to amp it up, I took one of the glassiest foundations in my collection, the Makeup Forever HD Skin Hydra Glow. I'm going to use a little bit more of the Maybelline than I am the Makeup Forever, but we're going to make a good little cocktail here. Make sure this is all nice and blended. I'm going to show you the best application for foundation to make it as even as possible with as little product as possible. So on my little palette here, mixing some of Maybelline and a little bit of Makeup Forever, not too much. Sorry, your fingers are going to have to get a little dirty here, but trust me, it's the best way. We're going to mix our foundation together, and you have to do this. You have to do this so nothing soaks up the foundation. You get as much or as little as you want over the skin. The warmth of your finger, trust me, it's going to warm the foundation into the skin. This is going to allow you to get all of the benefits that the foundation is going to give you, of the smoothing, the glassiness, the glowiness, without looking too heavy on the skin. So I'm going to blend it out as much as I can. It's not going to be perfect. I'm doing half and half so you can see the difference. But I did most of the blending here. It's really easy. Just keep a makeup towel by you. And then to finally give it that push into the skin, I'm taking my beauty sponge. This one's from Beauty Blender. I'm taking the First Spray Serum from Dalba, coating that with this. And we're going to essentially lock this in. The spray as well is going to lock in glow at the same time. And this is going to take such little effort because we've already blended the product out. This is just the finality of pushing it in and giving it that glowy finish. Do you see? And if you want any more coverage, by all means, go in with this second layer where you want it and push. Now make sure you're not swiping because that's going to move the product. We already blended the product out. There's no need to move the product anywhere. We're just pushing it in. See, that big old red zit's completely covered. So boom, look at that. And if you want more coverage, we're going to go in with concealer, and you can get that from the concealer by carrying it down a little bit. So we're going to repeat. Blend it out as much as you can. You just need to use one finger and have a towel by you. And again, push it in between the foundations that I chose being amazing, how I blended it out and did all the work, how I'm pushing the serum into the skin. Look at how healthy and glowy it's sitting on the complexion. And you guys know normally I have a lot of dryness around my nose, and it's not really catching on to dryness, so I can tell I did a good job with my prep and with the products that I chose based on how it's sitting on my nose. And it's looking really good. Now for the under eyes, you see I do have some blue, particularly in these inner corners. So if I focus the color corrector right in these inner corners, it's going to make the biggest difference. So I'm gonna use the Cali Ray Hideaway Brightening and Hydrating Under Eye Serum. And I'm just gonna put a little bit of that up in here. I'm gonna use my BK Beauty A506. And I'm gonna focus on stamping that. So this is going to be a color that's gonna counteract the blue. It's not gonna look amazing on its own, but I'm gonna go ahead and put a more skin tone concealer over top. But this is just going to work to kind of shield the blue hue so that it doesn't peek through the concealer that I'm putting over top. But I love the color of this because it is so brightening. So I'm really focusing that on the inner part of the eye because I do want it a little bit brighter here. And this will blend in and mesh with the concealer I'm about to use, which is one of my all-time faves, one of the most reliable here. It's the High Glam Concealer from Natasha Denona. This is full coverage for that perfected look that I'm going for, but it's also very hydrating. It's the best of both worlds, really. There's a reason why everybody loves this concealer. I'm gonna start off with minimal product, and we'll see if I wanna build up. The key for today's look, I'm trying not to use too much products, too many layers, because I still want this to look super natural and glassy, and I feel like sometimes glassy can translate to greasy or heavy. And by minimizing the product that I'm using and trying to use as little as I can and spreading it out and being intentional with that product placement, it's going to help minimize that heavy, greasy look. Because we're going for longevity here as well. Whatever's on my sponge, I'm kind of just popping it all over my nose for a little bit of extra coverage. So let's get a little bit more definition in the face. Love cream bronzers and blush to carry on that really glowy, healthy look. I really like this Makeup by Mario one. I'm using the shade Light Medium. It's the Soft Sculpt Shaping Stick. And this, ladies and gentlemen, I like it because it's a drier cream. So it's not gonna make me look too heavy or sweaty. And I'm applying my brush directly on the product because I want it pretty soft. I don't want it too bold today. Want to keep it looking natural, but I love the way that this applies because it's super even. And I'm just pressing that. Make sure you really press it into the hairline. I am so guilty of not doing that all the time. So sometimes you can see my white forehead. It's not perfect, okay? It's just makeup. You take it off at the end of the day anyways. Not every application has to be perfect, but if we're trying to be, perfected is quite literally the goal. I'm gonna get my hairline today. And I'm also gonna take my Patrick Ta for Contour 3 brush, the nose contour side. And I'm gonna give myself a little nose job here. To apply that bronzer, by the way, I used the Makeup by Mario F4 brush. I've been loving that for applying cream products recently. And this is just the best nose contour brush. I'm also gonna take that underneath the lip as well to give us a plumpy, pouty look. I just feel like cream contour slash bronzer is so much more natural and you have so much more control than powder. I like to set with powder bronzer, but for that really sculpted look, you gotta go cream. That's good. And then blush. I was in debates about what I wanted. I know I wanted a cream blush, and I wanted to go for something that was gonna keep me juicy and plump, but blended into the skin nicely. So I decided to pick up the Say Do blushes, which you'll see how beautiful these look. I'm gonna use Chilly today because it's chilly outside. And this you can go directly on the cheek if you want. It's a good formula. I'm not putting it on my palette because it can't apply well. but I'm just doing it to avoid the habit I have of over blushing. So we're going little by little to get as much control as possible. I also still haven't decided, do I want to set with powder blush? I'm gonna have to feel my face and decide on that. But when you do it like this, which sometimes I don't have the patience for, but I do today, this allows you to slowly build up as necessary and really take the time to push this into the cheek. And you see, they're called dew blushes for a reason. And even though my skin is so dewy, I don't feel like it's highlighting my pores or imperfections, because, not to toot my own horn, but the product selections I made are really quite good. And they're really going with the vibe here. You know, I'm not the most amazing makeup artist in the world, but I feel like I can select some good products to do some of the work for you. And these definitely are doing the work. This is such a pretty blush, just a good everyday rosy color. And I'm not too much of a liquid highlight fan, but there is a particular formula of liquid highlight that it's so good it doesn't matter. The Forever Glow Maximizers from Dior. I decided to just dive in today and fully embrace the cream makeup. So I think I'm gonna use, I know pink would make sense, but I wanna go more champagne. So I'm gonna use the shade Nude. And I just think this gives the prettiest glow. And as somebody who's so stinking picky with liquid highlight, it's just so good. Oh, yes. So I'm just gonna do a little bit. I don't need too much highlight today because I think we're already glowy enough as is. I just want it to give that natural kick when the light hits it. Not really to be obnoxious, not to take us back to the 2018 days to glow to the gods. And there's something about this highlight, I think because it's liquid, but it's not like metallic or it doesn't dry down, where it doesn't emphasize like pores or anything or make the area look more dry. And then at this point, if you want to soften any edges, take your concealer brush, take your sponge, take your foundation brush, whatever you want. I'm gonna use my sponge. I'm just gonna soften the edges of the color that I added. On a normal day, am I doing all of this? No, too lazy at times. But when you really want the makeup to look, take the extra time, blend a little bit extra. And while I've taken a lot of time in this video with cream to keep us glassy, glowy, do not sleep on powder. Don't be scared of powder if you want to be glowy, because powder is going to help us with the perfected side as well as longevity. Because we're using a lot of creamy products, not that my pores are emphasized, but they're definitely not blurred, and that's what powder is gonna do. So I'm gonna take a powder that won't overpower the glow and turn the look instantly matte. I can't stand when that happens. So one of the best for that, is my Grody Odie need to buy more Pat McGrath Labs under eye powder. Estoy cansado, jefe. This is so unbelievably blurring, but lightweight. I'm just gonna take a little bit on a more firm brush. This one's from Hourglass. And we're gonna be specific with where we place everything. So I'm blending out my under eyes. One of the places I want to set and hide some of the pores is right here. Again, being very particular about where I place this. I want it to last a little longer here. And then the center of the forehead, just a little bit. We're just working it into the skin. So what I'm doing, I'm going directly in the product. I'm tapping it off and kind of working it into the brush. And then we're gonna hit the under eyes. Now you know your skin best. If there's anywhere that you get super oily, that you don't want glow to be, set it with the powder. So for me, that's mostly the T-zone area, the under eyes for longevity purposes, and right here. And sometimes when I powder the nose, it can stick to dry patches, so I'm just gonna leave the nose as is. But particular powder placement is going to help us with the longevity. It's also going to help with blurring, and that Pat McGrath powder is really great. It reacts well with glowy products and not overpowering them. Now, if you are an oily girl, I do recommend setting maybe like bronzer or a little bit more. So I have a couple products that I'm going to show you. I'm going to apply them on my skin. I don't really need it. in the age of dryness that I'm in, but for your sake, I'm just gonna show you a really great bronzer to set with is the Kosas Sun Show bronzer. It's a baked formulation, so you're not gonna get too much fallout. I recommend going a little lighter than you normally would since we already have the depth. And this, as you can see, has a beautiful sheen to it that's going to complement the bronzer. Another one that you can go to, which I'm gonna talk about in a moment, any Hourglass powders are also great to set the face with. If you want that glow without actually using cream products, you can see the baked formulation, how this gives such a pretty glow. So Hourglass as well, they have bronzers, blushes, highlighters. I'm gonna use the Kosas because it's been a while since I've used it. I'm taking as fluffy of a brush as possible. Tap off that excess. We don't want it to stick to our bronzer. And this is also gonna help diffuse everything as well. So I'm just doing a little bit just to get a touch of that powder to soak up any excess oils that might come through. And then I feel like it kind of blurs the lines and everything. And then to finish off, because I don't feel the need to use a powder, blush, or highlight. However, Hourglass has this formula which unfortunately cannot be duped. Humble opinion. You can't find another powder like their finishing powders. And this particular one is from the Dragon palette. There's 2 finishing powders. So these, when you swatch them, you're gonna be like, why would I pay money for this? So this is like a filter for the face that you're not gonna see unless it's like real life. It kind of blurs over everything, but also gives a subtle glowy effect. Not really perceptible on camera or really to the eye, but just when you're like out in the sun, it's so pretty. So I'm gonna get it all over my big fat brush. And all I'm gonna do is put it literally everywhere to give us that lasting finish, particularly over the cheeks. It's gonna blend everything seamlessly. This is the best finishing powder in the world. You can buy these individually. I know they're pricey, but it's literally an Hourglass filter in a little powder. And as somebody who has dry skin and recommends this, because it doesn't make the skin look dry, I'm telling you, but it completely sets the makeup for long wear. And we're gonna finish off with one last final shot of setting spray, which I don't think I really need because I am so beautiful and glowy and the powders aren't sitting on top of this skin. But just for good measure, we're gonna finish off with the Rephr Spray Serum again to soak everything in. And I did such a good job, patting myself on the back here, I did such a good job with like product selection and application. Nothing is sitting on top of the skin or needs to be melted in. But if you do notice that your makeup's sitting on top of the skin and needs to be melted in, this is a great product for that and it'll give that glow. So I'm just gonna do a light layer since we don't need much today. Let that dry, grab your fan. Okay, you guys, and before I finish off like my eyes and my lips, I just want you to get as close of a look as possible. Look at my skin, y'all. I mean, this is real skin. Of course, it's not gonna look perfect, but I have dry skin. I feel like you cannot even tell. It's quite full coverage, really smooth, really glassy. I give you some of my favorite tips, some of my favorite techniques, and it's actually gonna last as well. So let me quickly finish the rest of my makeup. Makeup is finished for the day. Here is our final look. I used the Glaminatrix Entrancing Eyes palette. And then I'll have everything that I'm wearing in the description box, actually, if you're curious. But I really love this Glaminatrix palette. But there we have it, you guys. This is my full coverage, perfected, yet still glassy makeup base tutorial. I hope you guys learned something from it. If you have any other tips that you think I would enjoy, make sure you share them in the comments down below. And again, a huge thank you to Rephr for sponsoring today's video. I will have a link down below if you're interested in picking up the Rephr Spray Serum or the SPF. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys, have a good one.
It's delicious.